Welcome, everybody. I'm very happy to be here this evening and to talk with you about managing your energy, not time, and lighting up your network. And thank you, Mashe, for that nice introduction. My work involves helping individuals and organizations that are going through change and turmoil to maintain top performance and to meet their goals. As he mentioned, many years working with New York Times journalists in war zones so that they can be at the top of their game. People that have been held hostage, detained in Tripoli and Syria. And then in addition, I am an executive coach for Columbia Business School, and I assist executives in goal and strategy development so that they can get what they want in their careers. So as you can see, a lot of my work revolves around resilience, personal resilience. And this will be a focus with managing energy of what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so I'm just really delighted to be here with you. You obviously are a really successful group. I know that about you. Even if you are in transition, looking for a job, not happy where you are, you're very successful. And you're here because you're want to learn more and get more. And I think that's really cool. Please ask questions. I want to hear from you. The more I can hear from you tonight, the more that we can meet what your needs are. And I am committed that you get something from this evening, so I hope you'll work with us on that. If you've been looking for a new position for a while, and this is a tough market out there, there may be times when you feel you're getting a little stale, times when you think you need to renew, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Actually, you should be renewing all the time. So let's just jump into what we're going to talk about tonight. 4 sections, really 3 sections actually tonight. The managing energy, we're going to talk about physically managing your physical energy and connecting to your inner passion. That is also a source of energy for you. And then calibrating your goal, recalibrating your goal, and revitalizing the network. Okay, so that's our roadmap for tonight. So, Mashe, we have a quiz here. Okay, great, I'm going to do the quiz. So I want to give credit to Tribeca Leadership, a colleague, an affiliate of mine, for having this quiz. And I'm putting it up here and just ask you to do this in your mind right now. Am I physically ready and mentally ready? Am I eating healthy, especially breakfast? Make a note for yourself whether you're strong, on target, or need improvement in that. And then your second question, and you know what it is, so just jot it down. And the next question is, am I regularly following cardiovascular and strength training? Strong, on target, need improvement. Make a note for yourself. And am I getting sufficient sleep each night? 7 to 9 hours. Actually, I've heard that 9 hours is an optimum. Strong, on target, needs improvement. Okay, so I want you to make notes of that, because I want you to, as we go through this evening, to think about what you might do, what action steps you might take if there are areas where you need improvement. And so great. So let's jump into the first part, which is managing energy. And we're going to break that down into 4 areas. And we're going to move through the physical, the mental, which is positive self-talk, effective time management, creativity. Then we're going to go into the emotional, and then we're going to go into meaning and purpose. And all 4 of these areas really are energy drivers for you. Don't overlook any of them. So the first one, I want to say a little bit about time. You know, we all talked so much about time management in the past and fitting everything into a day. And actually, we have control over time, okay? We tend to treat it as if it is limited, but it's not. It is us, it is we, who place the limits on it. When we seize time as our own, it is limitless, and it's totally within our control. If we can shift our mindset about time, that we are in control of that, What matters to us will rise to the surface, and you will take that on first. And you will have all the time in the world to do what you need to do. We've made up the concept in the first place, right? It's just language, time, right? And we can have it any way we want. It's about being intentional. So it's really not managing time. It is not something to be managed. It is something to create. We create it, and it's totally under our control. Now, let me just give you the context for this focus on energy. When you are networking, when you are moving into the next step of your career, when you're creating for something for yourself, the higher your energy is, the more authentic you are, the more you're going to create. It's just more you're going to create for yourself, the more you're going to attract opportunities. That's why I'm going to spend some time. So we're spending time on managing energy, because it's really critical to how you show up with people in your life, in your career. Okay, so that first question, interestingly enough, only 27% will really take a break every 90 minutes. Okay, so the rest of you who said you did it, once a day or every 2 hours, you've got an issue of opportunity here. That if you move to 90 every 90 minutes, you've got some energy that you're going to free up. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So, and the second question, I get glued to what I'm doing. Most people, and another piece is part of the work culture. Got it. And finally, only 37% really shifted to do something radically different. Okay, great. With that in mind, I'm going to move on and talk just a little bit about this whole issue of managing time. Recent research shows that we work best in 90-minute segments. It's just the way our body works, and that when we take breaks at 90 minutes, we are more effective than when we don't. When we take those breaks, if we shift from left brain to right brain activity, and as you may remember, left brain is the more analytical side, more rational. The right brain is creative, free-floating side of the brain. So whichever side we're working on, for us to shift, so that oscillation back and forth between left and right brain invigorates us. And doing this every 90 minutes will make you more effective during that day. Some of us get into, and this is the culture, like you mentioned, a whole bunch of people mentioned the culture as an issue, thinking, go flat out, get that 10 hours in, get that 12 hours in, that's the way I'm going to get a lot done. Not true. Not true. Doing the 90 minutes and forcing yourself to take that break and switching over, doing something radically different or shifting that, will make a huge difference in how you feel and how you can produce and how you're going to show up. And this is how you're going to show up in networking, how you're going to show up in job interviews. Really important for you to keep this in mind. What you guys pointed out in the poll was it's hard to disengage. And I tell you, I'm so totally with you. This afternoon I was determined to get outside, take an hour walk. I knew I had this meeting. I wanted to really be energized for you guys. I really want you guys to get everything you want tonight. And I was going to go at 3, going to go at 4, and I did it. But it is so hard to break away. And so the key skill here is really disengaging. Disengaging. The ability to let go with what we're doing, say, I'm going to come back to it, I am going to be refreshed, trust that that's going to happen. So that's a piece about the physical part of managing energy. Now let's go to the mental part of managing energy. We are free to create our future. Our thoughts, our words create what happens for us. It's really the power of intention. For example, I need to make money, I don't have a, so that in your mind you have it set that you can't do what you love and make money. It's not true, actually. If you're really creating your future, you can do what you love and you can make money. These are common myths that we walk around with that get us stuck, that get us mired in disappointment, can't change careers now, I'm not qualified to do anything else. Not true. I would challenge each of you that that is not true, that you are qualified. And it's the matter of opening up your eyes to those other opportunities, to the other part of yourself that you haven't really looked at. Only way to make a real difference is work for profit. Again, so this is the point that I want to make, that we end up limiting ourselves. And these are just examples of core, what we call core limiting beliefs. A core limiting belief is a perception we have based on limited knowledge, which we then generalize to larger events in our life. Something happens, doesn't go the way we want it to. You're not making a lot of money. Say, well, it's because I'm spending time with my family. And you really can't spend time with your family and make money. So we make this stuff up, guys. We really do. And what we need to do in order to release our energy is to take a look at these. And validate them. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And to get somebody else to talk it out with, to shed the light on other possibilities for ourselves. There are, so, yes, great. It's something called reasons that stand in our way. We make up reasons why we can't do something, and we don't take a look. Now, I want to shift over to talking about resilience. And you may remember from the beginning that resilience is an area that I focus on a lot of my work, particularly with journalists in very difficult parts of the world, but with everyone in working with their career. Okay. And let's just jump in to take a look at what we have as a traditional stress management model. Something happens in our life that doesn't go well. We have a bad day. We have an argument with someone very important with us. Something doesn't work on the job, and then we go and we do something to relax. We go to the gym. We go swimming. Something like that. Okay, so that's a very reactive model. I want to talk about the stress resilience model, in which we intervene really way up high, way up here, as you see on the left side of the screen, so that we do things to promote our own resilience, so that when we face adversity, we actually come out with a higher baseline. And there's a whole lot behind this slide that I teach, but I just wanted to show you this one slide to point you with this. So when I work with people that are in particularly stressful situations, I really look at what is it that you love doing. How can you bring that into your world? I don't know whether you guys happen to see in the food section Alyssa Rubin. She's a really amazing correspondent, newspaper correspondent, Kabul bureau chief for the New York Times, who talked about food. In the food section of the New York Times, how she discovered taking really soothing foods with her to overseas assignment and had a huge impact on how she felt and how she performed. Now, for you, there's something else in your life that has a huge impact on how you feel and how you perform. For me, swimming is a big piece of that. Music is a big piece of that. Playing music, listening to music, that puts me into a different frame of mind. That is what builds my resilience. So I want you to really think about what that is for you. What that is for you. And build that into your work as you are networking, as you are applying for jobs. You've got to put that in before you go for an interview, whether you listen to some soothing music, whether you start your day with something totally different, spending time with a loved one, whatever it is for you that gets your juices going. I don't mean relaxes and slows you down. I mean energizes you. And each of you has something different. And if you can figure out what that is exactly for you, that's what's going to make a huge difference. Taking this step further, some of the components of resilience are commitment, active involvement rather than withdrawal. You've been doing the job search for 10 months. You've not come across that magic job. Or you've come across that magic job 3 times and you haven't gotten it. Okay, so active involvement, looking at what you can do differently, staying in the game, staying connected with other people is really what makes the difference. Control, another attitude. These are the 4 key attitudes of resilience. Commitment, control, making things happen. You are not satisfied where you are. You know where you want to be, and you're going to make that happen. You're going to really cause that for yourself. Challenge. You look at stressful events as opportunities rather than ones that are going to knock you down. Now, we all get knocked down every day, several times. It happens to me all the time. My challenge is to find how I get back on track. That's the key. And I get back on track by calling a friend, by talking to somebody, by going and do some of the things I just mentioned. But I know what they are, and I attempt to put them in place all the time because we all have that happen. Finally, meaning. Adversity and stress are provocations for making meaning. Believing that in the middle of stress, in the middle of a very difficult situation, there's something really to be learned. These are all key attitudes towards interviewing, towards being out there. And this is how our thoughts really impact our behavior. Our mental set, our point of view, determines our actions. If our mental set isn't working too well, that's what you're going to create in the interview. It's exactly what's going to happen. Okay? Great. Just briefly, self-regulation, again, having a flexible sense of ourself, ability to admit our mistakes right in the middle of an interview. You know, let me correct that. Acknowledge the impact of stressful events. Let people know what you're going through. Share. Tolerate the painful feelings rather than act them out and bottle them up. Manage the disruptive emotions. In the job search, we all have those points where there's emotional spiral, anxiety, fear. Am I going to get called back? I'm getting called back right away. Am I prepared? Do I have? What are they going to? You know, these are all competencies that we can all develop. It's going to make us so much more effective with our network. And this is all going to lead to our transformation. It's not going to be overnight, but as you build this muscle, it's going to make a huge difference. Okay. I want to just shift and talk. Another source of our energy is our values. Ever walked into a company and said, boy, this doesn't feel right. This is just not me. It could be the decor. It could be the way it's laid out. It could be a totally open environment. It could be a very hierarchical, whatever. And it just is not you. The way people are working with each other, the way they communicate with each other is not you. Make a note of it. Really, really important to know what the values are that are really important to you. Huge source of energy to release that. Learn in advance about the values of a particular organization, but most important, learn what your values are. Be clear. Some people say, I hear them say all the time, you know, I just need a job. I'm going to get the income coming in. It won't work. It won't work unless you're really connected with where you're going and you can fully express, I want to be here. I really want to be here. This really hits what my values are. What you're doing is so important. What you're doing, I can really contribute with this. I just really love that kind of work. And connect that to your inner passion. Do an inventory, talk this out with somebody, and create a statement of who you are. This is what I do with my clients. A really important piece of work is really creating that statement of who you are. The person you are is not the same person that you were. If you've been in search for 6 months, 8 months, a year, you're not the same person. You've learned a lot. You have new ideas. The marketplace has changed. So it's time to really shift. Let's move on here. So the second part of what we're going to be talking this evening, the first part we just went through was managing your energy, and really all the things that we talked about are ways for you to really ramp up your energy and your vitality, and so when you're really energized when you come to your network. And you're, the second part we're going to talk about is, a key part of that is really being clear about your identity and your goal. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on these very large topics, but just to draw your attention to how important that is. How important it is, and this is really a roadmap that I use with my clients in terms of doing that initial assessment, really looking at all the areas of one's life. And I would encourage you to take time to do this exercise. Do it periodically. Really, again, review, where is my passion now? What is the range of skills that I have? And really take this on. For example, for me, I know that being a contribution to others is really important to me, and I know being with people and working on things important to them creates a connection for me, and that's what really excites me and energizes me. And I just know that that's something that I want in my work, whether I'm leading a workshop on resilience, working with people individually. That's important to me. So for you, be clear about what that is. Be really clear. The tighter your focus, the shorter your search is going to be. So this homework is really pays off. So do the personal inventory, define the meaning. What is your professional identity? What is at the core what your contribution is? And how are you going to communicate that? And then, as you set your goal, if you can visualize your goal, if you can visualize where you want to be, you can get there. But if you can't visualize it, you won't get there. So as you set that goal and you set your networking strategy, and as you set people you're going to speak to, and you go to the hidden job market by going to LinkedIn and other tools that will help connect you to people that can open up those doors, if you can visualize where you want to be, you will end up there. Another piece of that is crafting the elevator pitch, which is really a distillation of all of what I've been talking about, which is really 40-second pitch. Really important to look at that it really speaks to your core, and that will attract people. In addition, I'll mention that Ivy, Mache told me tonight that Ivy is developing a new tool, social-friendly job searching tool that you'll be hearing about soon, kind of on the order of LinkedIn, that can help you to connect with each other. So that sounds really cool, and you'll be hearing more about that. Okay, so before we go on to the third part, which is revitalizing your network, Mache, do we have any questions?
Yes, actually we do. So, for example, one question came from Alfredo. It was a little bit towards the beginning. How long should the breaks last for that you mentioned?
Oh, okay. Generally 15, 20 minutes at the minimum. 20 minutes. Yep, really give you a chance. Any break is going to help. But if you can do 20 minutes, and that would be ideal. But just doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes is good.
Perfect. Also, Lori actually asked the question even before the webinar started. So she had actually a situation where, where the question is, if your resume has been confirmed by HR recruiter to have been passed along to the hiring manager, and you have yet to hear back, it's been about a week and a half. Is it inappropriate to try to reach out and find someone to network with within the company, or basically whether to see whether the company considering your resume, has any likelihood been seen by the appropriate person, or do you just wait patiently?
Well, I think you're right, Lori, to take some action. Being in action, going back to the person that actually had taken it and nicely staying on their radar. Absolutely, nicely staying on their radar. Nothing wrong, though, with making other contacts within the organization and getting your intelligence about that. Absolutely. You don't want to work at cross purposes within an organization. You just have to assume everyone's going to talk to each other at one point or another. You just have to assume that. They may not, but you have to assume that. So you don't want to say anything that you wouldn't want to get back. But the more people that you get to know within an organization, it's just building this web within an organization. I've seen people do it, and finally the whole place collapses around you, and you get a job because you're connecting all over the place, and you're just obviously the right person. So the more connections that you can make, and the more intelligence. I know with one of my clients had exactly that situation, but he had 2 or 3 other people he knew in the organization, and so he reached out to them, told them what he was doing, said, I've given my resume to so-and-so, would you mind putting in a good word for me? You know my work. And so other people would start putting in a good word directly.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. We also had a question come across that asks, how can you start networking with people you meet doing hobbies? So they're not there to talk about work, and how they can find you, how can they help you find a job?
You know, networking with people that are in hobbies, what a great place to be. Why? Because people are what? They're relaxed. You're having a good time. And you're being yourself. And it's absolutely saying, no, this is so great. I'm really enjoying. Would you mind if I kind of switched our conversation over to talking about work? Because that's really something on my mind these days. And say, oh, God, I don't want to even talk about it. Okay, then you got your answer. They say, no. Most times people will say, no, not at all. Say, well, can I tell you what I'm looking for? Because you might have some ideas. And that's how you start. So I think that's a wonderful place. And it really points out that opportunities are everywhere. And it's how you show up, which has been the point that I've been making throughout our conversation tonight, that it's how you show up as somebody that people want to have around, that's interesting, that's fun, you want to introduce to others. So being where there are hobbies or fun or stuff that you're doing, absolutely a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Let's have actually a question from Anna. How often should you follow up with people you've had informational interviews with?
How often?
Mm-hmm.
Was the question?
Correct.
You know, there are many different ways to follow up. When you follow up, you want to be interesting. You want to respond, and we're going to talk about this in a bit. But you want to respond to who that person is and something that could be useful to them. For example, somebody brought me into an organization once, introduced me to some key people for coaching, and it was really terrific. And so he kind of opened doors for me. And when we were leaving that afternoon, I said, so what are you really interested in? And he said, well, you know, I've just written a book. And I had no idea. He said, I've written a book, and I'd really like to be able to tell people about it. And it turns out that I run a couple of career networks, and I'm happy to bring him in as a speaker. So, but I didn't know that about him until I asked, you know, what's really important to you? So when you have an informational interview, when you're meeting someone in a job context, to really find out what's important to them, it doesn't have to be career related. That's what makes you memorable. And that's your key for how you follow up, following up on items of mutual interest, sending people an article that you saw that related to the conversation you had about the job, letting people know that you're still interested. You can, just continually do that. And don't be dismayed if you don't get a response. How many emails do you get that you don't always respond to when you are very busy on your job? So just don't take the fact that you haven't heard back from them as a no or a negative. Again, create that this is a place, if this is a place you want to be, create that that's where you want to be, and you will end up there.
Great, great. Well, we have a few more networking questions, but I think we have actually a whole section about that. So,
yeah.
But please definitely, ask any questions you want Pat to answer. We definitely have enough time for do Q&A, so please let us know.
Okay, great. Okay, so what's the key word in this next slide? Networking. What do you think is the most important word here? Building relationships for the purpose of sharing resources for mutual benefit. Key word here is mutual. So often we get so anxious about what we need, and our need is so much in the forefront that we forget about the other person. It's just what I spoke about a moment ago. Networking is building relationships for the purpose of sharing resources. I shared it with my friend in terms of a venue for his speaking. He shared with me a venue for my career opportunity. So sharing resources for mutual benefit. if you've been in search for a while and you're shifting your focus, or you haven't been in touch with people for a long time, then you might want to have the bridge conversation. Now, for example, I have a client who's been working as a researcher at a not-for-profit education organization, and for a number of reasons she's decided she wants to shift her skills into healthcare. So what she needs to have is that bridge conversation to go back to her network that she has, and you all have networks and you all know how to do basic networking. And if you don't, we can certainly give you lots more tips for that, absolutely. But to have the bridge conversation, to go back to someone and say, you know, we've talked about my work in education, and I'm really excited about it, and I work with families, and I research opportunities for family development. These research qualities that I have that have been so successful, I really want to switch them into the healthcare arena, because I think I can make a difference with families there. Now there's an example of somebody bridging skills that they've demonstrated in one arena to another. And I bring this up because I think a number of people that are in search for a period of time do shift their course. And so that's in terms of revitalizing your network when you're taking another course and when you're introducing yourself again. That bridge conversation is important. In other words, don't drop the network that you've got just because you're going to start to move from, for example, being an investment banker to being the head of a board of not-for-profit, or other shifts that people do. Take the network you have, show up, and make the bridge of how you're doing it. Create your circle of support. Networking is not only is people that you meet for mutual benefit, right? And create your circle of support, people who are really there for you. There's some people you have an informational interview for, and you don't have a lot in common, but you keep in touch with them. There are other people that, wow, it really clicks, you know, we really have so many interests in common, and you get to be friends with them. So enroll that group. Create your own circle of support. It's absolutely critical when you're in search to have that circle of support that you can turn to for all the things that we talked about earlier, for testing out your elevator pitch, for testing out your new goal that you've decided. Create a buddy system. I have a number of clients who, like, Sunday evening is my phone call with my friend from California. We get on the phone and we go through our to-do list for the next week, and then we hold each other accountable. Being in search, the main thing is to not make it lonely, to populate it with people that are supporting you, and a buddy that can hold you accountable. Okay, you said you were going to make 10 calls, and you're going to have 5 face-to-face in the next few days. Did you do it? The buddy system is really important. And that's creating a network for the new you, for the revitalized you. That's all these things that we've been talking about tonight. Here's some common barriers that a lot of us have for networking. I have long-term relationships. They will help me. You know, the reality is that it's the cold contacts that are most fruitful. My jobs, my big career changes in my life have come through people I've been introduced to by people that I know. Not the warm contacts, but the people they introduced me to. So in your networking, get through those warm contacts, the family, the friends, the people you've known forever, and that know the good and the bad about you, right? And you want to move on to those other people that you can then present yourself as who you are right now. And that's why it works with the cold contacts, because you are in control of who you are. It's not, oh, I knew him 20 years ago and he was doing this, or 5 years ago, or 8 years. No, it's now. Takes too much time. Another barrier. I need a new position. You probably know that the most common route to a new position is through networking. 75% is through people that you know. I'm not the sociable type. I just can't do it. I have a number of clients, and my point is, you can do this. You really can do this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to help you script what you say in a lot of these to get warmed up and get going, and you can do it. Practice, practice, practice. I don't need to network. I have 100 resumes out. Avoid leading with your resume. It's really, you want to withhold that resume as long as you can. Why? Because you want to present yourself as someone that can meet the need as described. You want to find out from the person you're speaking to what the opportunity is and what they're looking for before you start spilling everything out. And then you can really show them how you can impact whatever it is that they're looking for. But if you just give them a resume, it covers everything and it won't go into depth on any one aspect. I need to spend time looking up jobs online. We know how unfruitful that is. People in their offices looking up jobs online and applying for them, and it just goes into a black hole. It's really not about filling a job, it's about filling a need. And the more you can find out what the need is, then you can respond in terms of how you are that best person. Because that's your vision, that's what you've chosen as your goal, that's where you know you can make a difference, and you tell them. Networking is self-promoting. That's what makes me uncomfortable. This is a big one with a lot of people. Okay. In reality, the world is filled with people and organizations looking for exactly the skill set you have. And how are they going to know about you unless you unabashedly tell them who you are and your value? Your value is so important. Final one, network is self-promoting. This makes me uncomfortable. Advertise your value. You have to put about everything that your mother and your grandmother and your aunts told you about not blowing your own horn. You have to put that aside. Because people want to know who you are. They need you. They need you. So, 5 skills for successful networking. Clarify who you are, what is special and unique, and communicate that passion of why you are really going to make a contribution in their organization. Be clear about what you're seeking. As we mentioned, it's reciprocal, it's mutual. Give back. Giving back is so critical, and people often forget that. What was another one I wanted to say? Yeah, the laws around successful giving and successful receiving. This has been helpful to me. Thank you. What can I do for you? One of the most effective ways to be remembered. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up here on our session on Light Up Your Network. I'm really excited about you managing your energy and picking up that incremental energy that you may not have yet through some of the tips that we mentioned tonight. Physically, watch the thinking. Your thoughts determine your actions. Your thoughts determine your mood. Your thoughts determine how you're perceived. Your attitude, keep track of that with your circle of support. When you are energized and inspired and engaged, you light up others. You're irresistible. You will be. You are. You got to do the work. You got to do the work that we talked about earlier. Practice resilience. You have changed, so review your self-assessment and goals, and then re-engage your network. Enroll in requests. Enroll, what I mean by enroll, is put out who you are in a way that people say, wow, that's really exciting, you know, because you're being fully self-expressed in terms of who you are. That may be hard. That's hard for some of us. So you kind of practice it. Practice it with people you're really comfortable with. But authenticity is so critical. Give back, gratitude. Envision your future, and you will create it. So, please get in touch with me if I can answer any questions, be of help to you. I'd be delighted to. This is how you reach me, my email, pat@patdrew.org. You can review my website, and I'd be happy to send you a copy of this presentation. So thank you very much. Moshe, are we going to have more questions? Where should we go from here?
Great. Well, thank you so much, Pat. Yes, we do have questions, so I'll start right now. But definitely, if you have anybody else that has any questions, please let us know. So one question came through. So how do you start networking into a company where you don't know anyone?
Okay. You start with the people that you already know, and you let the people that you already know what companies you're interested in. That's part of your networking conversation, and you will find, you ask them, I'm interested in company ABC, and if they don't know anyone, then say, could you introduce them to a couple other people, and you will find people that know people there. LinkedIn, of course, is a really good tool for that. You can go, if you're on LinkedIn, and you all really need to get on LinkedIn if you're not, and you can look up a company and you can find out who in your network knows someone at that company. Actually, that is the most direct way. And then once you have the name, then you find out who the connection is. But absolutely, really great question, and make sure that you start connecting with people that are there, that know people that you know.
Great, great. And actually, I just want to step in and say that Pat mentioned we're actually rolling out a few new features, and that is one of the features that is going to be like that on Ivy Exec too. So when you're looking for a specific job, you'll have the company name, and if you link your accounts, you actually be able to see people in your network who are there. So that's actually coming within about a week or two. So please, be on the lookout for that.
Sounds like a wonderful opportunity with all the great talent that's in Ivy Exec for you guys to be able to start talking with each other.
Exactly. So that's the many new changes, but they're going to be really good. Also, another question from Rob. Actually, I'm currently working but want to change jobs. How can I network for a new job when I spend long hours at work?
Okay. Well, online networking certainly is, to make your connections. You can do that while you're at work. You have to make it a priority. And if you are really moving out of your job, you have to start to detach. Hard as that may be, and you need to start creating time. You need to start creating time and setting time aside to get together with people. And that's a great thing to do while you're in a job, not only while you're looking for another one, but while you're in a job to make sure you keep your network up. So find opportunities on your job to go to trade association meetings and to find out what's out there. But also set aside time, and you just have to do it, because if you give your heart and soul 90 hours a week to a company, you're never getting out. And so you have to make that distinct choice.
Great. So we have another actually great question from Alfredo. Would you recommend meeting face-to-face or through internet groups, LinkedIn? Is that valid?
The groups, a lot of the LinkedIn groups are a wonderful way to very effectively and quickly make connections with people. By joining groups of interest in different trade areas on LinkedIn, you can suddenly be connected to a lot of people. Nothing replaces the face-to-face. That's what makes you memorable. That's my view, and I think it's generally held. So use all that technology to meet people, definitely know who they are, engage them, but then go have a face-to-face meeting with them. That's what will make you remembered.
Great. We also have a follow-up question from Bo. When I try to connect to someone in a particular company through LinkedIn, who should I connect to? The HR or the managers?
Well, number one, you should connect with somebody that you already know, you're introduced to, right? You don't want it to be cold if you can avoid it. You want it to be someone that has introduced you to someone. And certainly the hiring manager is the ideal person to get in touch with. That's really where you want to end up, is with a hiring manager. Very often the human resources person is the route to that, and you have no choice. And that's who you're directed to see, and that's who you will see, and they actually add value and will really, their job is to make it successful. But if you have the opportunity to meet the hiring manager, do not hesitate. But also remember that you need to also build a relationship with the HR hiring manager. For example, if you meet a hiring manager and the HR manager reaches out to you and wants to get you involved, make sure you also treat them as extremely important. because they're working very closely with a hiring manager, and you need to really form a team with them.
Great, fantastic. So another question is, how do you start networking with new people if you've worked in a specific field for many years but want to make it the change?
Right. Well, we talked about that bridge conversation. Going to people that you already have in your network, letting them know how you're shifting your focus, and asking them, since they know you and they can vouch for you, asking them to make introductions to people in the new field that you are in. That's key. So the question was, how do you network into a field you've never been into? Okay, that's what I'm hearing correctly. Find out about trade associations for this new field. Find out who the leaders are in this new field. Read up on them. Go to where they are speaking. Find out who is hanging out with them. Get to know those people. But really going to trade association meetings and events, really, really important. And, you know, get your energy up and get your positive thinking going, and just get in there and make relationships and let people know who you are, and you know, build it in that way.
Perfect. Great. So another question came in. What's some tactical advice for when you've been doing a job search for many months?
And been doing a job search for many months. Was there the rest of that question?
No, sorry. It's just that said.
Okay. It sounds like, you know, feel like, okay, I've been searching for many months, nothing's happened. What do I do?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm going to assume that. Okay, great. In order to keep yourself motivated, it's really important to be with other people. Join networks, join career networks, join groups of people that are in search, but also join groups where they have people in search and also people that are working and maybe moving into transition, so that there's a lot of energy and a lot of new blood in there. I get out and be talking with people about what else that you might do. Having a coach, having a job, having a career coach is worth a tremendous amount in terms of helping you to really take a look at the steps you've taken and what you might not have done, and really starting to analyze the feedback you've gotten and starting to look at where can I really get better, and where am I really knocking it out of the park, and where am I not, and really starting to take a look. And that's what you do in communication with others, whether it's a buddy, whether it's your circle of support, or whether it's a coach. But I would sit back and constantly do some inventory, and then you also check your goal, do a gut check on your goal, on your skills, and yeah, what your focus is, and keep up to date on what's happening in the marketplace, and just but reach out.
Mm-hmm. Great. Actually, a question came in as a follow-up to what you just said. How specifically can a career coach help me on the job search, and that I can't do myself?
Okay. It gives you somebody to have an objective look, someone who's not looking for the job, but whose only function is to really help you get what you want. That's rare in our everyday life, that someone will sit down with us and really have only our interests in mind, because everybody has their own agenda. But a good career coach will have only your goals and your interest in mind, and that's very unique and can help you chart a course. Really important contribution of a coach is to help you do that assessment, which I pointed to earlier, that personal assessment of your skills, goals, passions, work-life balance, all of that. We miss things. We have certain stories about ourselves. I talked about those fixed beliefs earlier. We have mental models we have that are creating barriers for us to move forward. A good career coach is going to help you pull those back and to challenge those models. Well, I could never get a job there. No, that wouldn't fit. they will challenge you on all of this, and it will open up opportunities for you.
Great, great. So that was actually the last question that I had with me. So unless there's any other questions, I'd like to thank Pat so much for doing the webinar for us tonight.
You're welcome. My pleasure. It's great to be with you.
Perfect, perfect. And definitely we have recorded this, so we'll be sending off a copy to you. So please, also you see Pat's information on the screen right now. So if you have any questions for Pat, please reach out to her. Her email address is there and her website too. And you can also ask for a copy of the presentation, the slide deck as well. And with that, we're going to be finishing up. So thank you, Pat, once again, and thank you all for attending tonight as well. All right.
Great.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.